Live from the
I've had
campus
this
of the
debate
Appalachian School
between
of
these
Law
two
in
candidates,
Grundy,
Darren McAuliffe
Virginia,
and Glenn
the
Youngkin, on my
2021
calendar for
Debate
weeks,
for
maybe even
Governor.
months now. And
Sponsored by
unfortunately, I
the
couldn't
Appalachian
watch
School
it
of Law
day of
and
because
the
I was
Virginia
too busy,
Association of
which is a tragedy.
Broadcasters.
But here I am now with my live recording. And yeah, let's get to it after we skip these introductions.
Agreed to honor. 60 seconds for a candidate to
Okay, minute
respond to a
responses.
question.
Interesting.
Then 60 seconds for the other candidate to respond to the same question or a related one posed by a panelist. Then 30 seconds for a follow-up by the first candidate. At that point, the panelist may choose to ask follow-up questions. Later in this hour,
Kinda
the
standard
candidates
debate
will
stuff
have
right
5
here.
minutes to ask each other support.
Let's
With
begin.
that, the first question. As a result of a coin toss, we'll start with Mr. Youngkin. Mr. Youngkin, more than 12,000 people in Virginia have died from COVID-19, and more than 800,000 have been diagnosed with the virus. After some progress, the Delta variant has made things worse. President Biden last week ordered sweeping new vaccination
I'd say I
requirements
broadly
affecting
agree with
federal
this. I mean,
employees,
especially for
private
things like
companies
public
with 100 or
schools or
more
any other
employees,
like
and
federal
others.
system.
Most
I mean, you already
Republican
require
governors
vaccinations
have
to
vowed
go
to
to public
challenge the
school.
constitutionality
So
of his
this just
actions. My
makes sense
question,
to me.
as governor, would you challenge Biden's mandates in court? And would you urge companies in Virginia to comply with?
Ooh, I actually don't know
or to
Youngkin's
defy
position about this.
the
This will be
president's
interesting.
mandates affecting
Mandates.
their workers. You have 60 seconds.
Great. Thank you, Susan. And this is an incredibly important topic right now. Let me just start with my position on vaccines. I have been a strong advocate for everyone to get the vaccine. I do believe that individuals should be allowed to make that decision on their own. But that's why I launched a public service announcement to encourage people to get the vaccine.
That could be so much worse.
I believe
I'll take
that right
it.
now we face a real difference between my opponent and me. Although just 5 weeks ago, he was pretty much in my same position, encouraging businesses to, in fact, make their own decision. But he changed that position, I think, when it became politically expedient. I think what we need to do right now is make sure that everyone in Virginia understands that getting the vaccine is the most important thing we can do. That's why I invited Terry to actually do a PSA with me, so we can encourage all Virginians to get the vaccine. When I'm leading Virginia, we're going to make sure that Virginians understand the best way to keep themselves healthy. We're going to provide all the best information, and we're going to encourage Virginians
Mr.
to
Youngkin,
take
I'll
your
admit-
time is up.
Thank you.
Better than what I
Just
thought it was
very
going to be.
quickly,
Like, legitimately.
Yes or no, would you challenge the constitutionality of Biden's mandates in court?
Yeah, I don't believe that President Biden has the authority to dictate
that's a
to
yes?
everyone that we have to take the vaccine.
So is
Again,
that a
I would
yes?
encourage everyone to get the vaccine, but I don't believe he has the authority to do so.
Mr. McAuliffe, you've set
Okay.
a goal that every
Interesting.
child in Virginia be vaccinated, but you wouldn't mandate it. You'd leave that to the school districts to decide. But Virginia, the state, already requires students to have 11 different vaccinations at various ages to attend school. COVID is a more dangerous health threat to them today than polio or some of those other diseases. So my question is, should the state add COVID to that list? That is, require all
Absolutely.
students who are
And if you don't want to, just be
age-appropriate
homeschooled.
to get a COVID shot too. You have 60 seconds.
First of all, I've been very upfront on people getting vaccinations. I've called for employers to mandate it for their employees. I've called for everyone who works in a hospital to be vaccinated. I've called for every individual who works at a long-term care facility or a nursing home, everybody who works in K-12, everybody who attends higher ed. I have been very strong in this from day one, and Glenn and I differ on this issue. His anti-vax, what he has said, he's had rhetoric out there. He told college students, if you don't want to take the vaccine, just fill out an exemption. You know, I think that's life-threatening, and I think that's disqualifying as governor. He doesn't believe in forcing people to understand what COVID is going to do to this state and to this country. It's still raging all across the country. Right here in this county, all the ICU beds are full. So I am for requiring mandate vaccinations. He's not. He likes to do PSAs. PSAs aren't going to get you anything. I want everybody to be vaccinated here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Unfortunately, he is right.
So yes or no, would you add COVID to the list of required vaccines for students?
Well,
You saw
roughly
the
age of 12, we
vaccines
don't
just
know.
started
The
to
FDA has
plateau.
not
I'll
done
probably
the
put a
analysis under
graph
12,
in,
so
but
we
yeah.
couldn't do that. but I want everybody to be vaccinated. I have been very
So
strong.
for students above the age of 12, would you support adding the COVID vaccine?
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's a good
requirement?
position.
Yes, state
I totally
requirement.
agree.
I want everybody vaccinated. This COVID is not.
We had a
going away.
plateau
You read
in vaccination
stories, it
rates,
could be
and
here
now
for
Delta
18
variant
months.
is fucking
I'm
us
showing
all over
leadership.
again.
I'm not doing PSA.
I just can't deal with this
I'm telling
anymore.
you, let's
I
get everybody
I don't want
Mr.
anyone to deal with this. This is a
Mr.
very good
Youngkin,
position.
Let
I
me
agree
give
with
you
this
30
entirely.
seconds to respond.
Thank you. What you're going to hear tonight from my opponent is going to be a series of lies and excuses and radical positions. And he just started. He's told a lot of lies about my positions during this campaign. He just told the biggest one. My position on the vaccine has been very clear. I absolutely encourage all Virginians to get the vaccine. And we'll go to work together to make sure that you have all the information you need to feel good about it. My opponent has said he wants to make life difficult for people who don't get the vaccine. I think Virginians have
Mr.
suffered
Youngkin,
enough
your
not
time
to have
is
a
up.
governor make the
I've suffered enough under the hands of these fucking
McAuliffe,
morons who tried
you
to
have 30
extend this
seconds to
lockdown and
He's
shit.
not requiring vaccinations. That is the difference between the two of us. Asking to do a PSA is a political stunt. It's a political stunt. This is a tough job being governor. Your job is to keep folks safe. He's denying that he told college students to fill out an exemption. That's not true. We'll release my campaign. We'll release the tape right now as we speak. He's telling college students, if you don't want to get it, don't get it. Do an exemption for whatever reason. That is disqualifying in my book to be governor. You got to stand up
Mr.
and show
McAuliffe, your
leadership.
time is up.
Susan, can I have 15 seconds?
Yes, 15 seconds to respond
First of
to
all, he
what
called me
Mr. McAuliffe said.
anti-vax. That's a lie. I'm not anti-vax. In fact, he appointed a woman to the George Mason board that was absolutely anti-vax. And the only reason he did it is because she gave him hundreds of thousands of dollars for his campaign. His position flip-flops based on who's paying him. And in this case, I
Are we
support the
making the
vaccine.
same
I stand
argument
up for the
like with that
vaccine.
Trump donation? That was total bullshit.
We want to go on to the next
Oh, boy.
topic, but I do want to give Mr. McAuliffe 15 seconds to
So we just should
respond.
all understand where we are. It's all fluff words. PSAs. Who cares about a PSA? Half the people wouldn't even know who you are on TV. I am for mandating vaccinations for people.
That was a kind of a weird diss, but he's not wrong. There's a lot of apolitical people out there.
Nursing homes.
Mr.
I want you
McAuliffe, your
vaccinated.
time is up, and we're going
Thank
to
you.
go to the next question. Candace Burns will ask that.
Thanks, Susan. Mr. McAuliffe, the pandemic revealed major problems within the Virginia Employment Commission. The agency has been overwhelmed with claims, and newsrooms around the Commonwealth have been inundated with calls and emails. We're hearing from frustrated Virginians in need of emergency benefits, and they have been left in limbo with no explanation. While the VEC says it has cleared a backlog of appeals, thousands are still waiting for their cases to be reviewed. The agency faces a class action lawsuit. How can you assure Virginians that the VEC will be fixed and will be held accountable when another disaster occurs?
Sure, and I'll make sure all of our agencies work as I did last time. I worked in a bipartisan way with my Republican legislature. We worked together on transportation, veterans affairs, education. That's why so many Republicans have endorsed me already. And we worked together in fixing transportation when we had a broken agency. We came up with Smart Scale.
I covered this in a
became the
previous
model for
video.
the rest of the United States of
Mostly
America.
true, yeah.
So
Well, it's
I
kind
will
of because
invest time,
Republicans,
resources,
like,
whatever we need. If there was
were
a
in
problem
control,
before,
so he kind of had to
Mind
work
you,
with
when I
them.
came
But he did
into
work with them, to his
government
credit.
before, our economy was in chaos. I created 200,000 new high-paying jobs. Personal income went up 14%. I got thousands of people health care. I leaned in to lift up everyone's life. So my first goal will be to get everybody off of unemployment. But if those that may need it, we're going to fix any agency. I did this in a bipartisan way. That's why so many Republicans have endorsed my candidacy for governor.
Mr. Youngkin?
Okay.
Yes, well, what we've seen over the course of this pandemic is a failed rollout of the vaccine where Virginia was ranked 50th in the rollout of the vaccine. And then we've
what?
seen the Virginia Employment Commission that's supposed to be there.
I'm sorry,
in order to support those
I have to
Virginians,
look this up. I don't know what the
1.8
fuck
million
he's talking
Virginians
about.
who had to file for first-time unemployment benefits during this pandemic.
Okay, let's begin here. I know, a live recording of debate, but this is special. So, I looked this up, finding lots of different sources here. Let's go to PolitiFact, pretty trusted. And actually true. Yeah, in the bottom third of states. And if you go through, you can see they're 39th and 48th, which, yeah, not 50th, but whatever. Still really bad. Yeah, January 19th. You know. Yeah. We've actually been doing kind of all right. And I've been checking over the summer, and you can look at these statistics yourself, but we've been doing pretty good for a while now. And right now, we're 15th. Yeah. A far cry from 48th. This has been consistent for a while, too. Like, we've been better than the states around us, only the ones in the north doing generally better than us. But, yeah, quite disingenuous. I mean, very early on, maybe, it was bad, but, like, it very quickly picked up, and we've been consistently doing quite all right on this. Unbelievable. Yeah, we've been doing pretty good. It's crazy. Okay, let us begin. So, in the spirit of looking through vaccination stuff and, getting some more research on it, becoming a little bit more informed, I found something that I thought was quite interesting because, I mean, as you heard, I was really shocked that Glenn Youngkin took, like, a pro-vax position, and that he recommended taking the vaccine. So I wanted to look a bit further into this, and I had the preconception that Republicans were really against vaccinations. I mean, you've seen all, like, the protests and anti-mask protests and all the school board meetings, stuff like that. So I was looking through, and eventually I saw something very interesting. A non-partisan source here. I know. I'm just being a little jokester, but I just wanted to look into this and see what the other side was saying. A little pro-bipartisanship thing here. And this makes actually a pretty interesting point, which I'll get into. So, the whole crux of this article is about a Kaiser poll. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it was talking about, and it points out that a large part of unvaccinated people are actually independents and mostly apolitical, which actually goes to support Terry McAuliffe's point, which he made earlier. If you remember, he was criticizing Youngkin for just wanting to do PSAs and not mandates. But, as this points out, those people aren't going to see them or take them or believe them. And going to the actual poll itself, you can see that there is a substantial number of people over time that have just remained definitely not or only if required. And in order to get herd immunity, you need significantly more. You need a large chunk of this population to actually get vaccinated. So just simply saying PSAs and stuff, clearly that's just not going to work, unfortunately. However, going back, I wasn't entirely wrong with saying that Republicans were, like, I guess, anti-vax, because as the CNN article also points out, which shockingly this one doesn't go further on, is that still a large chunk of them are Republican. And going through the actual poll data here, look at that. Democrats, the ones that would definitely not, 5%. Independents, that's 9%, so not great. And Republicans, that's at 29%. So, yeah, it's definitely still really partisan, which, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. Oh boy. Yeah. Moving on.
Who couldn't get claims processed. It took a Supreme Court ruling to get them to go to work. I believe this is what you get when you, in fact, put people into these jobs that have never run a business, never run anything in their life. I'm going to go to work on day one. We're going to make government work.
How much of this is a
for
criticism of Terry
Virginians.
McAuliffe
On day
versus
one,
Ralph
we're going to go to
Northam?
work on the Virginia Employment Commission, and we're going
I
to
feel
go
like
to
that's
work
a
on the DMV,
little,
and we're going to
just a
introduce the
tiny bit
concept of
unfair to
customer
compare
service,
Terry McAuliffe
not
and
flood
Ralph Northam here.
process that actually processed $50 million of false claims and couldn't process the ones that legitimate Virginians who needed help could get. This is what a leader does, fixes problems, and I'm going to go to work fixing problems.
Thank you. You want a 30-second?
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. I have a record of creating jobs. Glenn Youngkin was at the Carlyle Group before they threw him out. What did he do? They bought mobile homes. They raised the rents. People had to make a decision, do I pay my rent or do I buy my food? They bought nursing homes. They neglected seniors. People died, including 5 right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I have a record of creating high-paying jobs. Your record at Carlisle is outsourcing jobs to foreign countries. That's your record. We don't need that here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Go big.
Mr.
Create
McAuliffe,
jobs. Personal income will go up as it did before.
your time is up.
Susan, can I have 30 seconds, please?
Candace.
Can I have 30 seconds, please?
Absolutely.
Oh boy.
Again, Mr. McAuliffe is very comfortable telling lies. I mean, these concepts are bogus. I mean, the reality is that he felt so good about the Carlyle Group that he invested millions of dollars of his money that Bill Clinton let him scrape off of the money he was raising for the Clinton Foundation. Terry, thank you for the big endorsement. Thank you. And if you can trust me with your money, the rest of Virginia can trust me too.
It wasn't you I trusted because I lost it, but.
All right,
And
Mr.
let me say the other
That is bizarre.
It was an
But I mean,
incredible
just look at the
investment for
history
you.
of Carlisle. I mean, come on.
Thank you.
And I will say this, when he was at CEO Carlisle.
This is a
No, I'm
little
sorry,
weird
Mr.
of an attack from Terry
McAuliffe.
McAuliffe. I'm absolutely going to admit
We're-
that.
It's Terry
We
McAuliffe.
want to abide, these aren't the rules that Bob or Candace and I made up. These are the rules that your campaigns negotiated with the
Terry, you
sponsor of
okay?
this debate.
Yeah, I'm worried
And
about you
so,
30 more seconds. I feel
I'm worried
great.
about you.
Yeah.
I think you're up on 2
It's like middle school. Come on.
Bob Holsworth is going to pose the next
Next thing
question.
you know, you're going
Thank
to be
you.
yelling at a sheriff.
Mr. Youngkin,
Fuck off. Shut up. All right, let's do
we'll
this.
settle down
Especially
for a
after
minute here.
Washington Post.
We're in a region
No, it's not.
of
Okay.
Virginia this evening that hasn't shared in the Commonwealth's prosperity. So I'd like to ask you about coal, climate change, and strategy for revitalizing the Southwest economy.
Oh boy.
The Assembly passed and Governor Northam signed the Clean Economy Act, mandating zero carbon emissions by 2050, a goal your opponent would move to 2035. Would you, if you were governor,
Kinda
sign
need that,
the Clean
looking at all
Economy
the,
Act? And could you explain
fires
for
and
people in most specific terms
drastic
how your
global
plans
warming
for the
things
Southwest Virginia
results?
economic recovery would differ from that of Governors Northam and McAuliffe?
Yes, well, thank you for that most important question.
Let's see.
And I am incredibly humbled to be here tonight because in this part of Virginia, what we have seen is a dramatic lack of participation and support from Richmond. And in fact, just last week, I was in Hurley visiting with all those just terribly, terribly unfortunate people who lost their homes. In fact, there was even a death. Richmond has to go to work for Southwest Virginia and has not done it so far. There are incredible opportunities here to grow the economy, to in fact invest
I'm not
in new jobs. We
entirely
just haven't seen
sure
Richmond
about
deliver.
that. It's true that
We
Southwest
should be a
Virginia
hub
has
for
been
logistics.
shrinking. In fact,
We
a
must, in fact,
city
invest
actually
in
recently
infrastructure,
dropped its status as
broadband
city because it
across
just couldn't
Southwest
afford it
Virginia.
anymore.
The Coalfield Expressway has to be completed so that
But,
we can become a center of commerce. But we have to go to work and not just give empty promises. And that's what I'm going to do as
Coal
governor
jobs have been
of Virginia, is
declining
I'm
for a
gonna go to
long
work
time.
for
Trump actually
Southwest
tried to
Virginia.
revitalize it. It's just
Can I
you just
ask,
can't do it
one
anymore.
part of the question again? Would you have signed the Clean Economy Act as governor?
No, sir, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, there we go.
I believe that, in fact, we can tackle bringing down emissions in Virginia without putting forth a plan that not even executives at the utilities believe is doable. It's going to, in fact,
How,
increase
then?
Virginians' bills by up to $1,000 a year.
What's your plan,
Puts our
Youngkin?
entire energy grid at risk, all in play for some political purpose. I believe
Global
I
warming's a
Thank you, Mr.
political
Youngkin.
purpose?
I believe in
So what's your
all
plan
energy
then? How are you going to
sources.
solve
We can
it?
use wind and solar, but we need to preserve our clean natural gas.
One minute
and
for
we
Mr.
can, in
McAuliffe.
fact,
I can cut you off now.
have a reliable energy grid.
Relax, Glenn, I don't want you to pass out.
Mr. McAuliffe.
Yes, of course I would sign it. If you look at my plan, I'm calling for clean energy by 2035. And when I think of clean energy, I think of jobs. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of new jobs. And that's what I think of when I think of clean energy. That is our future. When I was governor, I signed the first offshore federal lease for wind turbines. And guess what?
Yeah,
We have
I saw
two
that.
turbines right now, 27 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, lighting up 3,000 homes. We have 4 permits in front of the BOEM. When they get approved in 3 years, we'll have 200,000 wind turbines, Bob, out there, lighting up 500,000 homes. But my goal, I want to see us take that Portsmouth Marine Terminal and turn it into the green energy manufacturing hub. That will help all parts of Virginia. Will help here in Southwest Virginia.
At least he's given a plan here. Even if you disagree with him, at least it's a plan.
City and
Unlike
county
just,
in Virginia.
we need to
Every
switch,
rural county
or not even
saw
switch,
their
we just need
unemployment drop by
solar,
nearly
wind,
50%.
and coal, which is what
I'm
Youngkin
very
advocated for.
proud, but in order to do that, we got to have vaccines. People have got to be vaccinated. And as
Mr.
governor,
McAuliffe,
I
your
will
time
get
is up.
people vaccinated.
Thank you.
Quick follow-up.
A little bit of a diversion.
A number of delegates here have expressed reservations about some of the claims the Democrats have made about the possibility of green jobs revitalizing the economy here. What's your sense of that in this region?
Okay.
Huge opportunity for us here in this region. What we need to do is be manufacturing. Right now, what they do with a lot of the blades, turbines, and poles, they're manufactured in Europe, and then they're brought over by ship to New York, assembled. Forget that. I want them all assembled here. Let's build a major down at Portsmouth. I think we can build the biggest in the United States of America. Those jobs will be, Bob, throughout the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. The welders, electricians, everything we need. So we can become the hub. And we
Interesting. I haven't looked at his
clean
plan for
energy.
this. I probably will have to do that.
Thank you,
That's,
Mr. McAuliffe.
I feel like that would be done by raising tariffs. I'm not sure how effective this policy would be.
We see real challenges in getting to the goals that have been set in the original Virginia Clean Economy Act, and my opponent wants to accelerate them and destabilize our entire energy grid.
Have you been looking at the news? Have you looked at global warming? I am sorry. We have to do something.
So if you like what you just heard from my opponent, get ready for blackouts and brownouts and an unreliable energy grid. We can do this with common sense. We should embrace all energy sources. Yes, wind. Yes, solar. But we can't dismantle our reliable, clean-burning, inexpensive natural gas.
Thank you.
Mr. McAuliffe, Virginia law now bans abortions in the third trimester of pregnancy unless 3 doctors certify the pregnancy would likely kill the woman or substantially impair her health. Yes. Some critics say this puts an undue burden on those in rural areas where doctors often are scarce. There has been a proposal to reduce the number of doctors required to 1 and to change the medical standard to the damage of a woman's health. So here's my question.
Sure.
If the Virginia legislature passed that proposal, would you sign it into law? You have 60 seconds.
So the issue here is, in order for a woman to get an abortion in the 3rd trimester, you have to have a primary doctor certify, and then you have to have 2 other doctors. The problems you have in rural parts of our state is there are not 3 doctors. So that really puts women in rural communities at a real disadvantage. So if they came up with a solution, in a woman's life has to be in danger, has to be certified. And if you have a legitimate doctor that says this woman, her life's in danger, of course I would support that. I'll do anything I can. And that's the difference.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
My opponent, as you know, wants to ban abortions. He has said that. He got caught secretly on tape saying, I will go on offense. I will go on offense to defund Planned Parenthood and ban abortions. And then
considering Terry McAuliffe's legacy on LGBT issues I covered earlier, I would trust him a lot on abortion as well.
I won't go squishy on it. I can tell you this. To women
you watch our previous video if you
tonight,
want to see what I'm talking about.
I was a brick wall. I kept our 16 women's clinics open when I was governor of the Commonwealth.
Terry McAuliffe's legacy is actually really solid.
I can tell you this.
On this issue
Amazon,
particularly.
Google, Facebook.
Thank you,
It's dangerous for a woman's life, but it also is crippling to the Virginia economy to not bring these high-tech companies.
All right, probably going to work on and try and upload the other 2 parts of this as soon as I can. But for now, I am done. So, see you guys later. It's been an interesting debate so far. Living up to all of my expectations.